Welcome to the Fortinet Nordic Cloud 2021. My name is Pete Nieminen from Tietoevry, and I'm responsible for SAP and public cloud services in the company. Today, I'm going to talk to you about 3 different domains: public cloud, cybersecurity, and SAP. As domains, they are quite large. They are quite familiar for everyone. But combining that is the challenge, and that is actually the reason why I started my path on combining these 3 very different, very interesting and very deep-depth domains. Hopefully today I can give you some examples, ideas, opinions regarding the topic, and maybe also give a guidance on your journey on SAP to the public cloud. So, about Tietoevry. Most of you, of course, know the company. We are the largest IT service provider at the Nordics. But at the same time, we are also the leading public cloud service provider and also the leading SAP service provider at the Nordics. That means that we have lots of people, lots of experience, and lots of competence about the topic. But when we are talking about these 3 different things, we had a challenge. When we started to do SAP and public cloud development, the offerings, planning, and the competences, we thought that, okay, we have the people for SAP expertise, we have the people for the cloud, and we have people for the cybersecurity. But how do we actually combine this? To this date, it's still very, very rare to have people who can say that I'm an expert on SAP on public cloud, expert on SAP on GCP, AWS, Azure, or any of the hyperscalers. So what we did is actually we formed a squad model, which helps us to combine all of those domain skills, expertise, and also resourcing. So when we do SAP on public cloud, we have specialists who specialized on SAP, specialists on cloud, networks, project management, sales, whatever. And these people work together, and that is what we call a squad. And we all the time share the knowledge between the people on the squad. So eventually everyone starts to understand the other domains and shares the information and thus growing the common knowledge and capabilities of resourcing. And this is still the only way we can see that we can actually have this kind of competence, because it is very difficult. I think personally it's been like 20 years that anyone on IT business could say that I'm master of this single topic, because now each topic is so difficult. We have companies like Fortinet specialized on security, we have companies specialized on this and this service, but there is a very rare possibility of finding a person who can say that I'm expert on all cybersecurity, for example. So squad model, that was the answer for us. And it worked. During the last 2 years, we've been achieving quite a lot of certifications, accreditations, and for example, this year ISG was actually pointing us as the leader of SAP on public cloud market at the Nordics. So it works. About SAP, Timo was talking about applications. Well, SAP is an application. I think if cat videos are like 85% of the internet traffic, according to Cisco a couple of years ago, SAP is even more popular. It's old, it's robust, a bit static maybe, evolving all the time, but it's hugely important. It's the cornerstone of many enterprises globally, and I'd say that if you do a transaction, you buy something, it could be data, it could be just a transaction what you do on the internet, or you buy something physical. That object, whatever it is, has been touched by SAP at some point. It's 100% sure. Somewhere in the chain of manufacturing, building, ordering, or invoicing, SAP has been part of. More than 200 million users, and it is the largest application in the world. Why am I talking about the SAP is that it's in a turmoil and in a change. A couple of years ago, the SAP users, the enterprises, the mid-sized companies around the world started to think about the future. What is the future of the SAP, the enterprise resource planning, which is so large? It's the cloud. So almost all of the enterprises currently have decided that the future ecosystem for their SAP is public cloud. And this is growing like 300% since 2017. We at the Nordics are a bit late. We started to kind of emerge on this ecosystem thinking 2 years ago. Globally, it has been going on for a while. And for now, we have many users already at the Nordics doing the same thing. But to the question, what is SAP on public cloud? What does it actually mean? This is a bit old picture, but still I think that this is one of the pictures which explains most clearly what is SAP on public cloud. So when you have huge ERP system like SAP and you put it to the public cloud, you can actually retain the possibility of making decisions. You can decide about the configuration, the licensing, how do you actually set up your environment. The decision is still yours. And at the same time, what you have is you gain the capabilities of public cloud, the flexibility, the hundreds of capabilities what you can have. I can actually list like 100 topics. What's the advantage of putting SAP on the public cloud? Here I mentioned a couple of them, but there are a huge amount of advantages. And you still have the possibility of making decisions by yourself. It's not a new thing, as I mentioned. At this point, we have roughly 25,000 companies in the world doing the same thing. I'd say that maybe 50 to 100 at the Nordics, but it's very popular. It started 2015, and everyone is going to public cloud with SAP. One question I had a couple of years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, is that how big is the proof of concept? Do we need to do a pilot and stuff like that? And then I said yes. Today, you don't need to do it. Many companies are already there. The hyperscalers are proved already that they can run SAP smoothly and better than in private cloud, or especially better than in on-premise solution, standard on-premise solution. So you don't need a proof of concept. This is the proof of concept, the current customers. Going to the security topic. Until recently, this wasn't really a discussion. Of course, the topic is complex, but this one was specifically complex for SAP people, cloud people, and security people. What happens when we combine these three? The CSA was more or less the only one writing a documentation about the topic. They have this quite nice guideline of what you need to do and remember, understand when you put your SAP to the public cloud. And it's a good one. Unfortunately, it's very much like ISO 27000. So they are talking about high-level processes, high-level guidelines, and kind of things that you should understand or remember or consider. It doesn't really give you specific instructions. It doesn't really point out the kind of low-hanging fruits or the loopholes or pitfalls. It's just the top-level guideline. And we at Tietoevry realized this when we made our research, and we actually started to do security research on the topic of our own. The problems on SAP, the security challenges, the cybersecurity challenges are not that different. They are actually a bit old-fashioned even. Unsecure custom code. On average SAP system, again, which is an application, but a huge one, has roughly 2 million lines of custom code. 2 million lines custom code each installation. So everyone has a custom code in SAP. And there you have problems. It used to be inside your kind of core, protected by your network protection. There was no outside access to it. So you didn't need to be that careful. There are problems in the code. The traffic. Well, since you didn't have unprotected traffic outside the organization, you were not that interested about the traffic inside the organization. So that was mainly left unprotected. And then the old password question. I used to work in a company where we had SAP. We found out afterwards that some people had thought that giving access, authorization, and authentication was so difficult in SAP that no one actually knew that what kind of access rights people need. So the result, someone has decided that everyone will have full access, admin access. So I actually found out that we had 100 users and all of them had admin access to SAP. Well, that needs to be changed. But it's a common problem. It's a very common problem. There are no password checks, lots of default passwords, and that's a common problem in SAP environments. This one is also quite traditional. Lots of vulnerabilities, around 1,000, and more than 6,000 patches right now. So huge amount of code, huge applications, application family. Of course, there are problems, vulnerabilities, which need to be fixed. That's normal. This one is a bit specific topic. When I said that it's very rare to find people who understand all the 3 domains, this is kind of the one key reason for it. You can understand cybersecurity very well, public cloud very well, but it's different in SAP. And this is one of the reasons. When you run your business with SAP, that's a critical component of your business, and it actually dictates your business processes and vice versa. If the SAP doesn't work, your business doesn't work. So it's very crucial. You have custom code, you have patches, you have integrations, APIs, whatever. You need to have support. And SAP provides you support, enterprise support, what you want to call it. And they will help you in your problems, and they are very good at that. There's only one if. They will help you if your environment is supported. Some call it certified, some call it supported. What it actually means is that you have this certain amount of things you can do in SAP, but if you do something that's not supported, they are not going to help you in overall. So you have to have SAP supported environment that you can rely on the support of SAP organization, which is natural because they can't support everything. They are not going to support custom code which is made against their compliance or even beyond their current capabilities. So you need to work with them, not without them. And this brings the problem because everything is not supported. The first kind of eye-openers for myself were that we were designing an architecture with very traditional components. And when we were finished, we actually realized that this is fine and this works and it is according best practices of hyperscaler, but SAP says that it's not supported. They haven't tested it yet, so that's why it wasn't supported. So you need to comply all of these 3. You need to comply SAP, you need to comply the hyperscaler, and you need to comply the cybersecurity regulations, processes, governance, whatever you have in your own organization. That is the additional challenge. This is how Tietoevry does it. We start the journey by understanding the mutual readiness for the journey. This means that everyone needs to understand what the public cloud actually means, what does SAP mean in the public cloud, and what are the security implications. And then the journey has these natural steps. Decide, migrate, operate, optimize. It's no secret. This is how most organizations do it, and this is the kind of most efficient way to do it. Going to the cloud challenges, this is quite recent research. And if we look at the top cloud migration challenges on the chart, there's one thing missing. In the migration, security is no problem. I have no idea why, but it says that it's not the top problem. When we do the migration, security is fine. And the last one on the list is post-migration. So the smallest problem regarding migration is understanding that what we did. Sounds a bit weird, but okay, I can agree with that. When you are in the cloud, when you have done it, when your migration is complete, and you are on running phase, optimization phase, business is ongoing, what happens then? Security pops up. Number one problem. So when we do it, when we do the migration, security is not a problem. But when we have done it, it's the biggest problem we have. Doesn't make any sense for me, really. So what we did in Tietoevry is we wanted to prevent this to happen. We did our research, and we started to write documentation, working plans, instructions, guidelines about securing SAP on public cloud, that we would know beforehand what we need to do, and we can explain it to others. We understand it during the migration, and after the migration, security would not be the biggest problem what we have. So this is an example of the white paper we released last month, and it's open for everyone. You can download it from that link. And we are continuing this set of public documentations regarding the topic. We try to give the instructions how to secure this combination of complex matters, how to actually do it, what are the challenges, and what are kind of our recommendations for it. In short, it's not that different than in any public cloud security. SAP security is a bit different thing. Public cloud security quite close to SAP and public cloud security. So these are the kind of key topics. Couple of things raised up. Identity and access management, specifically identity management. It's one of the traditional CIA triangle parts in security, but in this context it was highly important compared, of course, the others which are important too. So when you look at the SAP environment, you have usually tens of applications, you have hundreds of servers, virtual machines or whatever, and then you have maybe 1,000 integrations, thousands of APIs, and all of them needs to have identity and access management. Your environment is usually not public cloud only, it's usually hybrid. You have a public cloud component, you could have multi-cloud component from several public clouds, but you definitely will have a hybrid cloud between the public cloud and the private cloud. And all of them needs to have identity access management. One of the key topics. Another one is architecture. This is actually a very, very important tool for us. When SAP on public cloud work started globally 5 years ago, not in Tietoevry, but globally in all of the service providers and companies, this was very expensive service. So you could bought an architecture for your organization and it was hugely expensive. From our side, it's included. And what it actually means is that we develop a reference architecture for SAP on public cloud according to our SAP and public cloud best practices. Then we went to the security side. We went through the requirements of the contacts and created a security configuration which will match the reference architecture. After this, it will be made customer specific, so each customer will have designed version for them. There are lots of reference architectures in the market. It's important to realize that most of them publicly available are minimum viable products, so they will work, but they will not fulfill the requirements of the specific business. So that's why it needs to be customized. After that, it's approved by hyperscaler. So we give it to Google, we give it to AWS or Azure or whomever, and say that please verify that this is also according to your best practices. And at the all time, it needs to be supported by SAP. Some say certified, supported, whatever. It needs to be supported by them. And then comes the enhanced version. So when you have a specific industry, when you have regulations, you have processes, or you have a security guideline saying that you need to obey specific requirements that you make sure that your business critical environment is secure enough, or you need it to be more secure, then you turn to those technology providers who are specialized on providing SAP on public cloud security. And Fortinet is one of the leading ones. There are not many in the world who have actually specialized on providing security on SAP on public cloud environment. So that's why Fortinet is very important, supporting us doing that kind of architecture designs, doing enhanced architecture for public cloud. Lots of other tips and tricks. These are kind of my takeaways for you. Unfortunately, due to the restricted time, I don't have time to go through all of this. But you can always contact me or contact Fortinet, and we will gladly tell you more about how you do it, what are the right steps, and what do actually these things, these bullet points on the slide mean. Hopefully I left something to think about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. Always a pleasure to listen to you presenting.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions to you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So Why should organizations consider moving SAP specifically to public cloud instead of their own data centers or their service providers like local data centers? What are the benefits that you actually get from cloud instead of the local data centers?
Well, it's a short question with a very, very, very long answer, but a good question. I'd say that while I have those 100 reasons why the organization should do it, the cost efficiency is not the one reason where I would start from. It's most common one, but I would talk about business flexibility. So utilizing public cloud gives you business flexibility to upscale, downscale both your business and your infrastructure very easily and cost-efficient manner.
Okay, nice. So the other one I promised to ask you, and I think this is where the question is a bit shorter than the answer, I would guess, but what are the common pitfalls one should avoid or you could easily avoid when taking your SAP to the cloud?
It's actually a tough question. I had an answer and then I changed the answer and then I did it again. And I kind of came to a conclusion that my advice would be that no one should be overconfident because the expertise for this is very rare. One might understand about SAP or cloud or cybersecurity, but it's a combination. So the common pitfall is that feeling too sure that we know what's going on and what we should do next and what's the right solution. It's a cooperation of different professionals, different people, different organizations, open discussion, and that always brings you to the best possible solution. And I've seen that in some cases where we've been discussing with our customers, the more open discussion, the more fruitful the result, and the more happy everyone are. So don't be overconfident. It's very new territory and everyone needs to learn about it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.